Tuesday, July 31st, 2012. We will start by the invocation by Pastor Terry Mason from the Anderson Seventh-day Adventist Church, and I will lead you in the pledge. Pastor?
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you this morning to ask for wisdom and understanding. Please help this Board of Supervisors to make decisions that will benefit Shasta County. Bless their families and all those who they represent. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Well, as many of you know, we lost one of our young men from our community this last week. So as you say the pledge, I ask you to remember what it means to us to have this freedom. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item is the public comment period. If you wish to speak, please come forward and give your name. Each speaker is allocated 3 minutes to speak. Comments should be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the board. Pursuant to the Brown Act, action or board discussion cannot be taken on open time matters other than to receive the comments and, if deemed necessary, to refer the subject matter to the appropriate department for follow-up and or to schedule the matter on a subsequent board agenda. I have a couple of requests to speak during open time. Dolores Lucero, followed by Rob McDonald.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have a package here for everyone. Should be easy to follow. It should be easy to follow there. Okay, the first item I'd like to discuss is regarding on, let me see. On July 24, year 2012, on the public comment, I made an error in regarding the city of Shasta Lake, Tony Coates, city clerk, actually, I made an error, but it's a good error. The error is that she's not appointed or elected, so therefore she cannot even swear us in and to take the oath because she's an employee. So basically she can't even take the nomination documents because she's an employee. But Kathy actually just told me this morning that I could file the documents in her office. So that takes care of that. The next item is the City of Shasta Lake agenda item 4.2, November 6th, year 2012 election, pages 1 to 3. It's in your package there. Also, the California State Auditor sent to Dolores Lucero, June 28, year 2012. The State Auditor sent me a document saying, as you can see, it says California State Auditor I requested for a document to file a complaint against the city of Shasta Lake, because I do believe they need to be audited and those documents need to be looked into. The next one is a copy of certified mail to show a Secretary of State I sent June 8, year 2012. I sent a certified mail to the Election Fraud Investigation Unit and regarding the recall because it was fraud. My point I'm trying to make is the city of Shasta Lake, there's a lot of things that somebody needs to look into. The next one is item 5, Ron Lindsay, the council member of the city of Shasta Lake. I show there's 4 pages, okay, on your package, but what I'm trying to do is to let you know there was a conflict of interest, the 1090s. There was, on your package there, I'm sorry, it's just a little, there's a package there, it kind of breaks it down regarding Ron Lindsay. It kind of gives you an idea, all the activity he was involved for the 1090s. And you could see on the second page, you'll see that this one here is actually colored in pink in your copies. Those are the original copies. So the original copies are actually, these were evidence in a package. They were given to one of your employees at the public defender's office, Tim Pappas. Those evidence were never submitted to the DA. They withheld the evidence, they put it on their own website to show the public what they
Mr.
found.
Larson, you're out of time, so if you just sum up, please.
If it's possible, if I could meet with one of you to see if this could be put on the next agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Lucero. Rob McDonald, please.
Good morning. My name's Rob McDonald. I'm a citizen of Reading and of Shasta County. A good friend of mine this morning is sitting in Butte County Jail. He's one of the leading medicinal marijuana advocates in the North State, and apparently Mike Ramsey decided to go after him on trumped-up charges. I've been complaining about your ordinance since you passed it, and the reason being that you took an oath to uphold and protect the people's rights under the constitutions of the United States of America and the state of California. You are violating that oath. And, you know, I tried recalls with the city. That requires a lot of effort by a lot of people. But something I can do by myself is start filing treason charges against people that commit treason against the American people. Okay? We have rights, we have liberties, we have freedoms under the Constitution. No law or no constitutional amendment was ever created to take a plant away from the American people. Now, taking stills away and alcohol, that did happen. It took 75 years to get that passed, 13 years that it was in existence before the people rejected it. You can't do this to people. You can't keep on saying it's your way or the highway when they voted in their own law, okay? So, I'm going to give you a chance. I know you can't do anything this meeting, but your next meeting you can agendicize it and you can vote out your ordinance and vote out the moratorium. Otherwise, I will file formal treason charges with the Shasta County DA.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. That's all the speaker requests I have for open time. Move on to our regular calendar. Consider adoption of a proclamation. Shasta County Board of Supervisors Proclamation, Child Support Awareness Month, August 2012. Whereas the Shasta County Department of Child Support Services believes that children are our most precious resource and become healthy, productive, and well-adjusted adults through the support and nurturing of their families. And the Shasta County Department of Child Support Services believes that child support provides an essential bridge to self-sufficiency and financial security for children and their families by ensuring that children have a reliable source of financial and medical support, allowing them to grow, learn, and achieve their dreams. And the Shasta County Department of Child Support Services currently serves 13,263 families, of which 7,663 families are former recipients of welfare benefits. And in the 12 months ending in June 30th, 2012, the Shasta County Department of Child Support Services collected and dispersed over $19 million in current and past due child support payments. And the Shasta County Department of Child Support Services is strongly committed to its mission of working together with parents for their children, and the staff of the Shasta County Department of Child Support Services believe in and practice the core values of integrity, teamwork, quality, respect, and public service. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Shasta County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims the month of August 2012 as Child Support Awareness Month in Shasta County, signed by Chair Leonard Modi.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Terry, are you going to?
Good morning. Terry Love, Director of Shasta County Department of Child Support Services. Oh, sorry. I thought I clicked it already. Thank you for letting me come before you today and give a short presentation on what your local child support agency does each and every day. I'm going to take you through a day in the life of a child support agency. A lot of this data was collected in September of 2011 because our organization statewide collects data once a year or once every 2 years to put together fact sheets to allow the public and our customers to know what happens in a child support agency. So here we go. The child support agency is more than just a transfer of money. In 1975, the child support program was first enacted. The purpose of the program was to remove the main responsibility of supporting children from the taxpayer to the responsible parent. The program is federally supervised and state administered. In California, each county has a local child support agency which serves the families and children of their own communities. There are 82 child support professionals in Shasta County. They are working together to ensure that children receive the support from their parents. In 2011, wrong year, 2011, September federal fiscal year, Shasta County collected over $19 million. This is a decline over previous years. As we've seen the economy tank over the last several years, so have collections. But that doesn't mean that parents are not paying their support. In fact, we have more parents paying support now than we did 5 years ago. It just means that because of their current income status, their child support orders may have declined to match what their income is. We've also seen a decline in tax collection intercepts, UIB, and real property lien collections. Obviously, people's homes are upside down, so there's when they sell their homes, there's not money there to collect or to pay off their child support arrears. The child support program in California represents 1.4 million cases. That's 3 people for every case. That's a minimum. So in Shasta County, we have over 13,000 cases. Every case has 3 people, a mother, a father, and a child at a minimum. Oftentimes, our children are placed in foster care with a grandparent, with an aunt, an uncle, or a sister or brother. So look around you. You are probably sitting next to or know someone who is involved with a child support case in Shasta County. This is 3 times the number that you see in cases, so a minimum of 45,000 plus people are somehow affected by the child support program. To date, in this last year, Shasta County helped 7,600 families leave a costly government aid program to become self-sufficient because they can now rely on child support coming in each and every month. Sometimes families get separated due to divorce, not being able to get along with their mate. Sometimes jobs take them away from their families. So the first thing we have to do is locate the parents to bring them together. We do this through many different types of automated tools or through resources such as the Federal Parent Locator Service. We check DMV records, EDD records. Employers help us find parents, friends, relatives, Social Security Administration, just to name a few. Last year, 2,777 non-custodial parents were located on September 28th, 2011. Second, we have to establish who the legal parent or the legal father is of a child. We can do this through genetic testing, which is free to the families going through testing. We can do this through a POP declaration when mom and dad agree upon who the child's father is. Usually POP declarations are signed at a hospital or a birthing center, and this is our first step in bringing our families together. Next, we have to obtain a child support order. We work with both the parents to go through this process. Research shows that when both parents are part of the decision-making process, payments become more consistent. Last year, Shasta County heard 98 cases in court on one day, and 12 stipulations for child support were reached. The Family Support Act of 1988 mandated immediate wage withholding on child support orders. This took the voluntary payment process away from the non-custodial parent, but also ensured that payments were made when a parent is employed. Other tools we use when wage assignments are not working, or someone is unable to pay, or they're working under the table, is credit reporting, passport denials, and we also have in California, a compromise of arrears program, which allows people to get out of debt with a fraction of a cost to paying off their California debt. When circumstances changes, such as the income is reduced or increased, or when visitation is increased or decreased, orders are modified to reflect the current circumstances. And as you can imagine, over the last 5 to 7 years, because of our economy, child support orders don't typically go up in this type of economy, they go down. But as I mentioned earlier, we have more parents paying their support than we ever have in the history of Shasta County before. This is a picture of our current performance here in Shasta County. This is where we stand today. In 1988, the Family Support Act was enacted, and the Child Support Relief Act of 1999 set program standards and timeframes. This was one of the first programs, and maybe still one of the only programs, that truly tracks performance. The blue tower shows our current performance, and the orange tower shows where we are trying to where we're trying to get to by the end of this federal fiscal year. As you can see, we are very close in all of our goals. We anticipate being able to meet most of them. Every year, the state increases those goals, so even in this really tough economy, they increase the goals from 1% to 4% each year in each category. That has been difficult goals to reach, but we're working hard for you every day, and I want you to know that you have a great team and great Shasta County employees working for you and very hard every day. So that concludes my presentation, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions of staff?
All right.
Unless you want to be part of the presentation, you can. Well, Terry, thank you for making the presentation today. Certainly, divided families are a difficult situation for everyone, and I think the ones that probably be hurt the most are the children. And I want to thank you, your department, your staff for stepping forward to make sure that the children in our county receive the support that they need to become productive and healthy and happy kids. So thank you. Next item is the consent calendar. The following consent calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They may be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member, staff member, or interested person may request an item be removed from the consent calendar for discussion and consideration. At this time, I have a request to remove items C2 and C3. Are there any others?
Move approval on consent as amended.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item C2. Mr. Kehoe?
Thank you. Ms. Rignell, step forward, please. The summary of the staff report indicates in the main that circumstances pertaining to the specifics of each incident have been thoroughly reviewed and appropriate corrective action taken with the individuals involved. Could you give us some background on how we are improving our method of doing business to prevent this from happening in the future?
And perhaps just a short discussion as to what we're talking about.
Right. Good morning, Chairman Modi, members of the board. Connie Recknell, Auditor Controller. The board has delegated the authority by resolution for the Auditor Controller to be able to relieve discharge of accountability for items under $500 throughout the year, with the requirement of bringing a report to the board each year to show what we have done. Items greater than $500 must be approved by the Board of Supervisors after an investigation has been performed. The policy requires a department to report to me within 3 business days if there are any shortages in their cash. This could be in petty cash accounts, change accounts, when they're taking money over the counter from customers. In several ways that we receive money throughout the day, there always could be a possibility of miscounting of funds. In each case, the department gives me a letter telling me what had happened, how they found it, and what they are doing to make sure that it does not repeat. In cases where they are out of the ordinary, then I will have one of my staff members, we'll do an actual investigation, and we'll go out and do an audit on it. We'll review what their policies are, what their handling policies are. We have established cash handling policies for Shasta County. We try to ensure that they are following those policies, and in the event that something has gone awry, maybe a new employee's been trained, maybe there was just an oversight in transferring of monies, but we make sure that they are aware of what those policies and procedures are. We also, if necessary, give them recommendations on how to increase those policies and procedures. And then if there is no fraud detected or negligence, then we will relieve it, and then I'll bring it back to you at the end of the year. In all these cases, this year there was only the $252 in total, out of a $350 million budget. I guess that's pretty good. I mean, there's little things in most cases, a couple dollars in change counting. And last year, I believe it was $365 around that dollar figure that we have. So it's just an ongoing internal control issue that we continue to maintain within the departments.
As stewards of the public treasury, we're obligated to protect all the resources, the financial resources that are placed in our custody. Are you convinced, based on the remedial actions that have been taken, that this will assist in eliminating this sort of thing in the future?
I believe it will definitely assist in controlling those issues. The more aware the departments are of those policies and the more they make their staff aware of what those policies are, we will continue to, we'll never get rid of all of them. They may, and in all these cases where we're relieving the accountability for the department, if they involved actual dollars with our clients coming in, it doesn't relieve them. It just means that in some cases it's not, the value of trying to go after and recouping some of those dollars is not cost effective also.
Thank you, Ms. Regnell. I'll move approval of the staff recommendation.
And then under discussion, I just wanted to mention, since you referred to it in your report, Ms. Regnell, the error margin is .0000006. So I would think that all in all, not bad. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded in discussion. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item C3. Authorizes the chair to sign an agreement with the City of Reading on ballot drop boxes.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Kathy Darling Allen, Shasta County Clerk and Registrar of Voters. The item you have before you today is an agreement with the City of Reading to allow us to place 2 ballot drop boxes, one in front of our office in the Market Street Promenade, the old downtown mall, and another in the circular driveway in front of City Hall. So right next to the utility drop box that's at the far end of the drive around there at the City of Reading. We're really excited about the opportunity to have locations for folks to drop off their ballots. It doesn't require postage. That's one complaint that we hear quite often from folks who vote from home, is that they resent having to pay postage to return their ballot. And we do have quite a few people that bring their ballot into our office as well. In fact, in Shasta County, in every election since 2005, more people have voted from home than have gone to a polling place. So clearly, there's a certain part of our population, just over 51% now, who prefers to vote from home, and so we're trying to accommodate that. Also, the ballot box, drop box that will be placed in front of our office will be ADA compliant, which the current mail slot in our door or in the wall of the front office there is not. So that will assist there. The vendor that we chose to purchase the box from provides some pretty robust security features. The boxes themselves are constructed out of 1/4-inch thick steel. They're hand assembled and welded, so they're not spot welded. There's continuous welds on all the way around. I have a couple of pictures if you can do the magic up there. I don't know how well everybody can see in the audience, but that's a photo of the front of the box. It has a slot on the top, and the way this photo actually shows the slot in the locked or closed position, so that ballots cannot be inserted into the slot during off-election periods. And also, when the slot is open, then that flap additionally locks down and is secure during the election period. Let's see. I think Mr. Kehoe had some questions, so I'm going to let you ask if I'm not saying everything I should say. And then we're going to have labels on the side, so it'll look something like this. Oh, this is a narrower size box, but that's what it'll look somewhat similar to that with a flag on the side. So it's readily identified as a ballot on elections drop box.
Ms. Darling, talk to us about how you're going to close these things out on Election Day.
Thank you. Every election night, we regularly make a trip to the post office on Churn Creek Road to pick up the last remaining ballots the post office may have. So we'll incorporate a stop by the City of Reading drop box in that run at 8 o'clock on election night and secure the box shut so that no more ballots can be dropped in it after 8 o'clock.
The final question is there any thought given to placing these boxes in the unincorporated areas of the county adjacent to or in population centers?
I think that's a great idea. I think we'd like to see how these two perform and what kind of response we get from the public. But certainly that's something that we may bring back in the next couple of years as we have more elections.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Will the decal be on both sides of the boxes?
Yes, it is.
And what do you think the possibilities are? You're going to get utility payments in this, and they're going to get your ballots?
I think that there's a strong possibility that could happen. We've already had some conversations with the city clerk, and quite frankly, our solution is to, the election ballots come in a purple or green envelope on their return to us, so it's very clearly different than the utility bills. We'll just put them right in the utility box when we pick up the ballots from that box every day.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about the ballots get dropped in the other one, because how do you make sure that they met the timeline? Are you going to have them check their box at 8 o'clock?
That's a really good point, Chairman. Thank you very much. We can certainly do that.
Any other questions?
Move approval of the staff recommendation.
Second.
Moved in second, discussion. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Kathy. Moving back to the regular calendar, administrative office update and board reports. Mr. Lees? Nothing to report. Thank you. Mr. Kehoe?
Thank you, Chairman Modi. I attended the Youth Violence Prevention Council meeting of Shasta County last week. I have the material available, and it will be upstairs on the credenza.
Thank you. Supervisor Baugh?
Thank you, Chair Modi. I attended the Nortec board meeting this last week, and I have brought back for your review Natural Resources Industry Cluster Analysis 2005 through 2010. And actually, I've asked the folks from the California Employment Development Department who created this along with Nortec and the 11 counties that are represented to come and make a presentation to the board. And here's the picture. We're all aware that agriculture plays a major role in Northern California, but this gives us a picture of where we fit into that role in Northern California. And I like the broad look at it, so I've asked her to make a short presentation to the board. I only have one copy now. I'll make it available upstairs, but when she comes to make the presentation, there will be multiple copies available at that time. I just also wanted to mention that the SRA tax bills went in the mail starting yesterday, if all things went according to plan. And I am still encouraging folks to write to Governor Brown to complain about that. You can write to Governor Jerry Brown, State Capitol Suite 1173, Sacramento, California, 95814. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I also believe that previously this board has taken a stance in opposition of the SRA fee as well.
Absolutely right. Thank you.
Supervisor Hartman. Supervisor Haas.
Thank you. Just one item, the Sacramento Valley Basin-wide Air Pollution Control Council meeting will be this Friday at 10 o'clock, and I'll be participating in that. Thank you. That's all I have.
And other than attending several community meetings, I have nothing else to report as well. Moving on to R3, consider approving and providing direction to staff regarding the CEO's recommendations for AB 109.
Thank you, Chairman Modi, members of the board. As you recall, last week this board was recipient of a review that I conducted as it related to our progress in the realignment AB 109 process. With that being said, the board asked me to come back with specific action steps, and then the board also included two of their own to be included in this. So before you today is the list of those steps that indicate what action you want us to go forward with. With one caveat there, I will say that item number 3, where it talks about identifying timeline and steps to be taken to open up the 3rd floor of the jail, that has actually been resolved. And not only has that been resolved, but today, later on in this agenda, you will see that the sheriff has taken steps to facilitate additional beds in neighboring counties. So with that being said, the action steps are before you, and this is the time for discussion. I will reiterate that the accountability, let me just say this, the accountability and actually authority for this Board of Supervisors to actually conduct or direct the CCEP, the Executive Board of the Community Corrections Program, is very minute, meaning that it was set up by legislation, and I know I'm repeating some things, but for the audience too, this is something that was set up by legislation. It was chosen to be, the chair was chosen to be the probation chief, who's not actually appointed by this governing body. It's appointed by the judicial, or the branch of the judges here. So with that being said, I still believe that these steps have merit, and certainly I would look for any directions. I know that the executive board met last week, and they are waiting to see if this board was going to provide any directions before they complete their 2012 plan, which they will be bringing toward this board for approval here in the next few weeks.
You know, I think I just would like to add that not only are we very limited in what authority we have, we don't even have the authority to approve their budget. We have the authority to not approve their budget or their plan.
Yeah,
it takes a 4/5 vote to not approve it, otherwise it's approved. So that when the state legislature wrote this thing, I think they were in that box again.
I almost want to say typical. You know, it's the.
It is typical.
Yeah. So with that being said, if you look at action item number 1, which was, I had made a recommendation. I believe that the probation chief needs some assistance in getting started on at least a platform to where they have some assistance. I will say this right off. There are some on the Community Corrections Executive Board that believe there needs to be a full-time facilitator for the 109 program. There's some that don't believe they need it, and I know that Chairman Modi made a recommendation, which is number 5, that is can be in conjunction with this or instead of this. So those are things and directions I'd be looking for from the board. I'll just go to the next one, which is we still believe that we need to identify specific timeline and timeframes for the Community Correction Center to be opened. We're not, I don't think anybody is excited about the progress that has been made in moving forward to have a facility where we can be providing services for those in need. Again, number 3, I think has resolved itself at this point. Number 4, I would still like direction from the board to go forward in my meeting with the presiding judge to make sure, and it kind of ties in a little bit to number 6, which was Supervisor Kehoe's, but to make sure that we actually have some performance standards, goals, and measurements in place that we can hold people accountable to. And then number 5, of course, is Chairman Modi's recommendation, and then number 6. So right now, what I'm looking for, does the board want me to go forward with this? Do you want to fine tune them? I'm just looking for action and authority to move on.
Discussion? Mr. Kehoe.
Thank you, Chairman Modi. As I look down this list, I only see one, Mr. Lees, that we have direct control over, and that is for you to meet with the presiding judge to discuss developing clear performance standards, goals, and measurements for the chief probation officer of concern. And then 3, as you've indicated, has been taken care of by the sheriff. So that leaves 1, 2, 5, and 6. The concern that I hold is this. I think we as a board need to know what the executive board intends to do about 1, 2, 5, and 6. And let's not leave it open-ended. If they choose not to move forward on these, then I think we need to know that and explore other remedies, legal remedies, that may be available to us. I think these are reasonable, I think they're sound, and I think they will go a long way to resolving the problem.
Mr. Baugh?
Thank you, Chair Modi. Well said, Supervisor Kehoe. The bottom line is we can make recommendations all day long, can't we? But if they choose not to accept those recommendations or to substitute their own action, then we're still in the same position we're in. I would like to see the board refer your thoughts, in other words, agree with your thoughts for them to review their own management structure and to make a decision that will assure the public.
Okay. Anyone else?
I'll move.
I'll add my comments then. I agree with my colleagues that we need to try to provide some impetus to make something happen here. I will say I'm a little bit concerned about adding the additional position, whether it be full-time, part-time, temporary, only in that I haven't seen their budget to see how they're going to pay for this. I know they want more money for booking prisoners out of county.
Yeah, jail
and
beds.
that's going to be a problem. I know that other members of the committee are concerned about not using all the money for corrections, for incarceration, but for other programs. And so I'm not convinced that adding another person to pay for salaries is the best use of that money without seeing a plan. So that's why I'm more in favor, and as I suggested last week, about if there needs to be a co-chair to help, take some of the duties to get this stuff done. I think it's just a matter of getting after it, sort of getting it done. So those are my concerns. I agree with my colleagues, though, that we're somewhat limited in what we can ask for, other than, again, approving or, I guess, disapproving their plan and their budget as they bring forward, which I believe is going to be sometime in the near future.
They actually, it's all but ready to go. They kind of completed most of it last week. They paused to wait to hear this report today to see if the board was going to request any additional action that they would need to consider incorporating into their plan. So I would imagine that we'll be seeing this in the next 3 weeks, I would think, in August.
And I'm very interested to find out when
I'm looking for anyone to give me a nod, and no one is. Therein lies the problem, but
I'm really interested to find out when the Community Corrections Center is going to be open, the assessment thing. I just cannot believe it. We're not there yet, so I'm really waiting to find out when that's going to happen as well. Mr. Kehoe.
Thank you, Chairman Modi. Regrettably, the AB 109 history in Shasta County indicates, I think, to the public and to this board, that the executive committee as a group has been paralyzed by inactivity. Now, if they can get their act together without hiring somebody else, so much the better. But if the workload is so overwhelming, then they ought to consider some alternatives. I'm willing to leave that up to the wisdom of that group, but we've got to get the job done.
and I agree. Believe me, I do not want to spend the money on something that we don't have to. And that's, if it can be taken, I like the idea of a co-chair type also, and so certainly with the board's permission, I will include that in that number one recommendation with Supervisor Kehoe's caveat there. If they could, create some activity and get moving with the co-chair or without the hiring, then so be it.
Mr. Hawes?
Well, the mere fact that we're looking into this has made things change. I think we can see it already. So if we just continue to put the pressure on, it's going to happen, I do believe. So anyway, it needs to come from them. If they need somebody, they need to come to us and tell us that they need someone. So I think we're moving in the right direction.
Do we need a motion to give you direction? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll move for approval.
Okay.
Second.
Under discussion, Mr. Baugh?
What exactly we're moving approval of? The question I have is that we know that number 4, we can ask our CEO to meet with the presiding judge and the chief probation officer, and we can have those discussions. But the rest are just, we're making recommendations. Is that what you're saying with your motion? We're asking them to consider a series of actions?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We're keeping the pressure on.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item, R4, consider approving and authorizing the chair to sign a memorandum of understanding with the County of Lassen to house inmates from Shasta County. Sheriff Pasenko.
Good morning, Chairman Modi and Supervisors. Before you is a contract that we've negotiated with Lassen County Sheriff to house our inmates here at $63 a day. As you know, the jail has been at capacity since 1993 with releases, and then with the budget woes that we've had with the closure of the floor of the jail and the impact of AB 109, that has exacerbated the problem with capacity releases. In July 1, a piece of legislation, SB 1021, allowed counties to enter into contracts rather than just contiguous counties, but nearby counties, to house out-of-county inmates with other sheriffs in their jails. There is a very limited amount of jail bed space in California, and we had been working since the legislation passed to identify those counties, and Lassen is one of them. The daily jail bed rate of $63 does include routine medical care or daily medical care, and then emergency care out of the jail would be at the cost for Shasta County. The sheriff in the county also has to maintain minimum standards as per California Code regulations under Title 15 and 24, and they'll be accepting inmates that are sentenced up to 1 year, but for a maximum of approximately 180 days. They'll be released from Shasta County, where we would travel back over, pick up the inmate, and release them from Shasta County versus Lassen County. Right now in our sheriff's budget, we have approximately $70,000 for out-of-county bed space. We have also received approval from the Community Corrections Executive Committee for an additional $500,000 that will be coming when we present the Community Corrections Plan to the board for out-of-county beds, and secured an additional $60,000 added to the budget for home electronic monitoring for alternatives for incarceration as well. By no means will this solve the problems of our bed needs, but it will help return some offender accountability, and we will be shipping some inmates out to them. We are still in the process of negotiating with other counties as well. That concludes my presentation. Questions on this contract?
Ooh, it's close, but I think, Mr. Baugh, you won.
Okay, it's a race. Sheriff, thank you for your report. Appreciate your action on this matter. You've successfully opened the third floor, and you're continuing to expand that operation. At what point will you begin sending our inmates to these out-of-county contracts?
By your action today, this contract will have to be approved also by the Lassen County Board of Supervisors as per the legislation. Right now, they are dark this week, and I believe they are dark or not having a meeting next week as well. And as soon as they can get it before their Board of Supervisors, which I think will be the following week, then we can get inmates to that count to them as well, and we'd be shipping them out.
Will you be using up Shasta County space availability first and then sending, or is there some type of a protocol?
There is plenty of people that we can go out and get. There are people that have failed to appear on their court dates, not once but multiple times. Some of those are able to be sentenced. And then also there are people that have failed to show up for the work release program and failed to complete it. So those individuals are already sentenced, just not in compliance. We can ship them to Lassen County. And then there are people that are serving, as such I've given updates in the past with the AB 109 presentations that we've given monthly, such as parole violators that are serving up to 180 days in our jail. We can ship them to Lassen County, and that would free up valuable bed space here in Shasta County to hold and incarcerate those people that are waiting to go to court here for pretrial or on numerous failures to appears.
Very good, thank you.
Supervisor Keel.
Thank you, Chairman Modi. Sheriff Pasenko, there was some talk about exporting prisoners to the Bay Area. Is that still under consideration?
Yes, it is. During contract negotiations between Shasta County Council, the other counties, Sheriff's Administration, my administration, and our county council, there were some difficulties in the indemnification clauses, and we are still working with that, and hopefully we can overcome those obstacles.
Good. Relative to R4 Lassen County and R5 El Dorado County, how many prisoners do you anticipate shifting to these locations?
Probably around 40 to 60.
Very good. Thank you.
Sheriff Pasenko, do you know how many bed spaces Lassen County has now, generally?
I don't know for positive because it does vary daily as well. But we will contact them ahead of time, see how many beds they have. There are other counties in the North State, one neighbor to the south that is looking at bed space as well due to the impacts of 109, so that could have some difficulties on bed space of how many counties have contracts with Lassen or other counties.
Well, I'm just wondering, is it like 10 extra beds or 50 extra beds? Do you have a general idea?
They had a contract with the state, Lassen County, and half of their jail was for state prison inmates, and the other half for local inmates. And I don't know the exact figure, but I think at least for us, it'll probably be if they had all their beds available, probably a maximum of 60 beds.
Thank you. Supervisor Haas?
Well, I was going to move approval. I think it's a good idea.
Well,
we need to.
I have some discussion, or some speakers first.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to ask you, Sheriff, is how much money do you have carrying over this year that was set aside by the Community Corrections Plan for your third floor of your jail that we'd be able to use some of that money towards shipping?
Roughly, for the fund balance carryover was approximately a total for the CCPE was about $1.3 million. So we carved out $500,000 from that 1.3, another $60,000 for the home electronic monitoring, and then the board did approve a position for probation for a deputy chief or a unit person to be overseeing 109 for a little over 100,000. So I think it has a remainder of approximately 300,000 out of that 1.3.
Out of this year's?
Out of this year's fund balance, anticipated fund balance carryover. Also, I will be coming before the board that if we do have salary savings in positions that have not filled yet, I would be coming before you for a fund balance or a budget transfer to use those funds and use those funds first versus these fund balance carryover funds that we're looking at utilizing.
Yeah, the concern I have a little bit is that a couple things. One, even at $500,000 additional money, at $63 a day, that equates to just under 8,000 nights at the jail. So if you were to send prisoners over there and they were there the whole year, basically you could send 21 prisoners over there. So it eats that money up pretty fast.
You make a very good point, very valid point. In fact, for me, a little bit easier math is if we could easily put 100 people in the beds for 365 days, and if you used an average out of these different contracts at $100 a day, that would be nearly $3.7 million. Obviously, we don't have that, but I think we can use the beds efficiently and as a hammer, if you will, to encourage offender accountability for them to show up in court or be held until they can go to court, or also in showing up for their sentences.
The other concern I have is from what I understand, this won't be sustainable for the community corrections partner. We don't have enough money to continue the programs and spend the $500,000 a year each year. So we're going to have to, and I'm not sure you can answer this today. I'm not sure if your committee's gone through this enough, but I'm concerned that I understand the need for today, and I support this, but I'm concerned that we don't go down a path where we don't have funding to continue this at the pace that we're setting up today if we were to, expect to spend $500,000 out of the community corrections plan money.
Again, you make a very valid point. That discussion was a same discussion that we had within the Community Corrections Executive Committee as well. We recognize that spending plan is not sustainable with the current level of funding that we are receiving from the county. However, the use of these funds can bring back some inmate accountability or offender accountability, but it is not a solve-all solution for this. I do believe that with programs and services that are very much needed for offenders and different programs, a trip that we took to Santa Cruz, I think that can also bring down the level of the needs for beds if successful, but it will take some time to get there.
Thank you, Sheriff. Supervisor Hawes?
That's what I was going to mention, that should bring back some accountability. But there again, the ones that are coming back from prison still need a job in order to make it. So the key is to get some kind of an economy going again. I don't know all the answers there, but we need to do it somehow.
All right. Thank you, Sheriff. This time I ask for one speaker, Ms. Sherry Beck. And Ms. Beck, from my reading here, I understand your comments, I think, are going to apply to both R4 and R5. So,
that's correct.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Modi and members of the board and Mr. Lees and County Council. I'm thankful that you are allowing me to participate in this meeting. As many of you know, my name is Sherry Beck, and my top priority in my campaign for District 4 Supervisor has been public safety. We need to make sure that we have public safety in our community if we are to locate businesses here, because businesses want to be assured that their business will be protected, their families that they bring here will be protected, as well as our schools and their property. And I commend the board and Mr. Lees, and especially the sheriff, in negotiating these terms and putting these prisoners away and relieving our catch and release situation. I support the contracts here if the funding is available, and I thank you for the time.
Thank you, Ms. Beck. All the speaker requests I have. Any other discussion by the board? Seeing none. Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Supervisor Baugh?
Thank you. I'm calling this anticipated vote an attitude adjustment, and I think it's desperately needed on the streets. It will send a strong message to those who are considering misbehaving, and it does add accountability. Thank you, Sheriff.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now move on to item R5, which is a contract with El Dorado County. Sheriff?
Good morning, Chairman Modi. This is a similar contract with El Dorado County Sheriff and El Dorado County Board of Supervisors. It does have many of the same clauses, which includes a termination clause. This contract varies slightly in that the El Dorado County preferred an evergreen clause or no ending date. However, one of the advantages still within this contract is there a termination clause by both parties, and/or if some difficulties developed, then we could choose not to use this particular contract. In comparison, the Lassen County contract, which was just approved, was a one-year contract, and then we'll look at renewal as it approaches the 1 year. This contract is for $90 a day for a sentence. There are no minimums or maximums in regards to the sentenced inmate that we send to them. And then again, it still comes out of the same funding that we will be using for the Lassen County contract.
Thank you, Sheriff. Questions of staff?
I'll move approval of the staff recommendation.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Well, Sheriff, I only hope that you would use the lower cost beds first.
Absolutely. Those are, again, trying to be very cost efficient with the limited amount of funds that we have for this accountability. We are exploring other contracts in other Northern California counties that are in the same ballpark range of these prices that you see here. And I'd like to give accolades to my staff, Captain Bertain and Lieutenant Kent, who are working very hard to get these contracts developed and pushed through. As I said, the legislation that approved this just became effective on July 1. And then we worked very closely with Shasta County Council, specifically Adam Pressman, and to go from ground zero with no contract and then involve another county and another county council, which sometimes lawyers can have their specific choices of words and items within the contract to protect each of the counties, can be difficult to work through. And Mr. Pressman put this at the very front burner right on him, and then he was very capable and worked very hard on some late hours with the other county council as well into the late evening hours to get both of these contracts developed. We were on the phone sometimes at 7, 8 o'clock at night, even with the other county, and even on the weekends on trying to get these pushed through. So they went through at a very fast pace, a record pace, if I might say so myself, to get a contract developed in short order between two counties. And my hat's off to Mr. Pressman and my staff for working very hard on these to make this happen.
Thank you, Sheriff. The only last comment I have is just to, I guess, a reminder from my point of view that we continue to look at our funding and make sure that we don't overspend what we don't have, and that if we get the reaction we hope we get, that eventually start looking back to the corrective side of things versus the penal side of things. So I'll look to Mr. Lees to work on that a little bit. Any other discussion? You have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Sheriff.
Just one comment. I mean, we're spending money to keep them in our jail, and it's not that much different, so we can't look at it as a total expense. If they were here, they'd be costing us 50 or a little
It'd be
better, so-
probably between $80 and $100 a day for incarceration with our jail as well. There's still an expense here. It does not eliminate the need for additional beds, and at some point in the future, we'll be discussing the additional jail, but again, that's going to be a very difficult hurdle to overcome for the operational costs, and I recognize that as well. But thank you very much for approval on these items.
Move on to scheduled hearings. A court challenge to action taken by the Board of Supervisors on any project or decisions may be limited only to those issues raised during the public hearing or in written correspondence delivered to the Board of Supervisors during or prior to the scheduled public hearing. Our first item is R6, conduct a public hearing to vacate a public easement on Deschutes Road.
Chairman Modi, members of the board, Brandon Magby, the Shasta County right-of-way agent. Currently, we have before you a proposed abandonment here on Deschutes Road. We currently, let's see, get that better. We currently have existing 140 feet of road right-of-way for Deschutes Road. The general plan for Deschutes Road, ultimate build-out is 96 feet. The owners here of Bob's Market, which is at the corner of Ball's Ferry and Deschutes Road, we're looking to do some improvements to their business and their gas island and canopy. And when looking at doing those improvements, they discovered that their gas island and canopy is actually located in that additional 40 feet. So the Planning Commission held a meeting on June 14th and passed a resolution that finding it consistent with the general plan. And that's what we're here today to hold a public hearing for abandonment of this is 40 feet, and that would still leave us 100 feet for future improvements.
Thank you. Questions of staff? Supervisor Kehoe?
Will any adjacent landowner or any other party be harmed by this proposed action?
No, sir. Staff has actually spoken with PG&E and AT&T. They do have existing facilities in this 40 feet, but in the abandonment resolution, there is a reserving clause reserving their rights to maintain their existing facilities, and they have agreed to that reservation.
Good. Thank you.
Supervisor Ball?
In your report, you spoke of the eventual maximum build-out and the obvious that we don't need this extra land. How far in advance are we projecting, how many years in advance are we projecting that build-out as being sufficient?
I'm not.
You're going to get some help from your boss, I think.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Supervisors. Pat Minturn, Public Works Director. This is per the circulation plan as part of the general plan. And it's as far out as the general plan looks. The general plan is very conservative, designating 4-lane arterials on many roads, which we're probably at least 50 years out needing. Deschutes Road currently in that area carries approximately 5,000 cars a day or less. I wouldn't anticipate a need to add additional lanes for, we don't have any plans in the books in this area. I'd guess at least 30, 40 years out. The city of Anderson's roundabout may somewhat increase volumes on this road, but with enough lanes for 4 lanes, I wouldn't anticipate a problem in our lifetimes.
And then what do you do with other folks that come forward? Will you continue to abandon right away upon request?
Certainly, we entertain each request as it comes before us. We bring it before the board with a recommendation to approve or deny, of course. We bring them before the Planning Commission, but there's an application fee, but we take all comers and we examine each one as it comes. Now, as you get to a different location, each location's a little different, and so we don't have 140 feet along the entire length of Deschutes Road. This is an unusual circumstance, but if the adjoining property owners wish to participate, certainly we would bring those before this board as well.
Thank you, Mr. Minturn.
Supervisor Haas?
Well, that's what I was going to ask. This must not just be at one little spot. It must go up and down the road there.
Yes, I don't know the exact distance. I see from this here, it does extend beyond onto some adjoining properties. I think down here, it goes down into that frontage road that runs along the side of Deschutes.
Yeah.
So in that area, we actually do need that road because it provides frontage access.
Lane there. I think
Yes.
we own all of that between the two.
Yes.
The other question is, since this was on county property, have we been charging taxes for the pumps all this time, or?
No, sir, we just discovered it.
Just let them have it, huh?
We were unaware of it.
We were unaware of it, that's what I thought. Very interesting. been there for a long time, so.
Any other questions of staff? Then I'm going to open the public hearing. Anybody wish to speak to this matter? Seeing none, close the public hearing.
Move approval, staff recommendations.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this point, we're going to take about a 5-minute recess, and we'll be back.